Welcome to all of you, and thank you for being with us for our One Spirit gathering, for this wonderful opportunity to come together in prayer, in reflection, in service to each other and to the world. We have a wonderful gathering this evening from all over the United States, as well as internationally. We have participants from the Netherlands, from New Zealand, from Australia, from South Africa. Welcome, all of you. I just read something that I can't remember who's, William James said that we are like islands in the sea. On the surface, we appear to be separate, but underneath, we're all connected. And that's part of why we come together in this way, to feel our connection to each other, to ourselves, and to our source. So I'd like to begin this evening with a prayer. This was written by a friend of mine named Kate Sheehan Roach, with whom I work on an initiative called Transformation 365. Kate wrote this prayer in late March, and it's called Tree of Life. For those of you who are here in New York, you can hear out the window lots of cheering and cowbells and all kinds of wonderful, wonderful sounds celebrating our some of our heroes of the day, our first responders and healthcare professionals and frontline workers in so many different ways. And it's very fitting because our opening prayer is a prayer for them. So you may want to close your eyes if that's comfortable, or just soften your gaze as we pray. O Tree of Life, sustain us as we breathe in uncertainty, while pestilence sweeps the planet indiscriminately, reminding us we are all each other's keeper and no one is immune. O Tree of Life, we are your branches, we are your roots. Some go out on a limb to those in need, while others hunker down in sequestered prayer, equal partners in reaching higher and going deeper. O Tree of Life, we look to you for strength and shelter. Show us we are members of one family, every one of us essential, lovingly connected souls. O Tree of Life, help us serve one another undeterred, with the commitment of a letter carrier, the courage of an intake nurse, the grace of a grocery cashier, all faithful custodians of life, heroes of our day. O Tree of Life, guide doctors, scientists, and strategists humbled by this bug. Preserve, inspire, and energize them for the long nights as fate slips through gloved fingers and exhaustion racks brilliant minds. O Tree of Life, equip us to care for the caregivers, serve the servants, and help the helpers. Unite us in grace as we gather at your base to pray. Together let us say, Amen. So if you would, for a moment, go to gallery view if you're not already at gallery view, and allow yourself to scroll through. We have 6 pages of participants, and allow yourself to just scroll through and allow yourselves to connect, making eye contact and heart connection with the people that you see who are all here together this evening. So we'll take just a moment or two to do that. I'd like now to turn our gathering over to one of our first-year deans, Reverend Elizabeth Friend Ennis, who will share some reflections and either a reading or a poem.
Hi, everybody. It's really beautiful to see you all. Hey, Jen. So, as a first-year seminary dean, I just had the great privilege of companioning another class through the month of studying Indigenous spirituality, African and Native American spirituality. And when I was a student, that month was so transformative for me. So I wanted to share some of that wisdom with all of you tonight. And if you've been through the program, you're familiar with it, but I invite you to listen to these words with a fresh mind, looking at our common experience and what this tradition has to say. I'm going to be sharing from Finding Soul on the Path of Orisha, a West African spiritual tradition by Tobe Melora Corial. The Creator does not concern herself with quantifying or qualifying the sacredness of what she has created. Olodumare permeates every part of creation with the same amount and same grade of the all-encompassing divine essence, Ashe. If we are to understand the essence of Ashe, we must embrace this truth. All things are vessels of divine essence, intended to hold and pour forth Ashe. Even those found in the wide stretches of creation where a great deal of suffering is inflicted and endured. We must accept the fact that the receptacles of Ashe wear many faces, some of which are quite ugly in outward appearance, but whose Ashe is no less sacred. Regardless of how Ashe is expressed in nature or how humans use it, Ashe is a neutral energy and all Ashe is always holy. In Yoruba tradition, life-enhancing and life-battering experiences both manifest something about God. Both are equally important elements of a single process. All things live and die so that they may be transformed and reborn, repeating the cycle again and again. The Yoruba understand that birth always accompanies death. Even though Olodumare's Ashe dwells in all things, many of us have lost the ability to see God in its many expressions. Our minds have been clouded by either or and good bad perceptions. Of course, we may not always like the part of God that Orisha is showing us. It may hurt, it may seem unjust, it may leave us feeling confused, but it is still God. Though we may not realize it and may frequently forget it, the fact remains God is all there is. Oshun, in her guise as a vulture, is God working to keep balance in nature. The buzzard's activity in the realm of death is as integral to life's processes as the birth of a child. So when I read this as a student, my mind opened so much because I was entrenched in thinking, evaluating, comparing, and judging. This is good, this is bad. If this happens, it means I'm blessed. If this happens, God must be angry at me. If there are obstacles in my path, then I must be doing something wrong. And this teaching was an invitation to me to completely reframe my thinking and embrace the obstacles as an inherent part of the path, to value the importance of the vulture, to stop judging and resisting that which is undesirable or unpleasant, and even more than that, to realize that actually my resistance itself is the cause of further suffering. That when I can expand my heart enough to observe without judgment and to integrate without evaluation all that is, then there is potential for transformation. I can't think of any better metaphor for this collective moment than the idea of antibodies. So right now, the greatest hope for a vaccine, the greatest hope for healing and recovery, and even in the future preventing this kind of devastation from COVID-19 is antibodies from the plasma of the people who have gotten sick and recovered. What an incredibly powerful metaphor it is, that healing will come from those who were able to go through the suffering and actually integrate the virus into their own blood. And then there's the concept of herd mentality, which means that, not herd mentality, herd immunity, which means that when 60% of the population has built up immunity, then that's enough to protect the remaining 40% from being sick. So truly the only way is through it, through a majority of us literally integrating this virus into our own bodies. And spiritually, the metaphor applies to all of us here are light workers and catalysts for healing others. And it stands to reason that we need to build our spiritual antibodies as well. We can't avoid or turn away from the grief. We can't resist the anger and the fear and all of the multitude of challenging emotions that arise for us at this time. The only way forward is through it. And we need to allow all of it to enter in and be integrated into our own being if we hope to have a meaningful wellspring of strength to offer others. There's no bypassing in the creation of antibodies. The suffering, the endurance, and the integration of it all is the only road to healing. So for me, this is an invitation to change my way of thinking about the virus and embrace the possibility that it's not our enemy. All that is happening does not mean that God is punishing or abandoning us, but our planet has been desperately out of balance. And in the process of transformation, this virus is as much a manifestation of holy ashe as the spring flowers are. The fact that something is painful does not mean it is absent of the divine. So does that mean that we should somehow have gratitude for all of this death and grief or the loss of our livelihoods? No, of course not. We can't possibly be grateful for all of this suffering. But I listened to an interview with Brother David Stendal Rast the other day on Being, and he talked about deliberately choosing gratefulness as something different than just feeling gratitude. We don't feel gratitude for the pandemic, but we can choose to be grateful for the opportunity to take this experience and in our own way, transform it into something meaningful. The personal work of transformation is part of building our resilience, our spiritual antibodies. So maybe this experience will inspire you to advocate for a living wage for blue-collar workers, or for universal health care, or maybe you'll be inspired to run for office. Maybe if you've lost your job, you'll find your way to a career that fulfills something completely new in you. I don't know where this invitation will lead for everyone, and I don't need to think in a Pollyanna way that the outcome for everyone is going to be happy. But we can choose this opportunity to create meaning. And my prayer is that it will help us all to live more intentionally. So to close, I want to share a beautiful poem that I learned from Reverend Eileen Fisher. It's from Kristen Lore Weber, and it's called Mother Wisdom Speaks. Some of you I will hollow out. I will make you a cave. I will make you so deep the stars will shine in your darkness. You will be a bowl. You will be the cup in the rock collecting rain. I will hollow you out with knives. I will not do this to make you clean. I will not do this to make you pure. You are clean already. You are pure already. I will do this because the world needs the hollowness of you. I will do this for the space that you will be. I will do this because you must be large, a passage. People will find their way through you. A bowl. People will eat from you, and their hunger will not weaken them unto death. A cup to catch the sacred rain. My daughter, do not cry out. Do not be afraid. Nothing you need will be lost. I am shaping you. I am making you ready. Light will flow in your hollowing. You will be filled with light. Your bone will shine. The round, open center of you will be radiant. I will call you brilliant one. I will call you daughter who is wide. I will call you transformed. Thank you.
Can we just sit for a moment and allow the wisdom that Elizabeth has shared with us to really just land? Daughter who is wise. Elizabeth, thank you. Thank you. And now I'd like to turn our gathering over to one of our second year deans, Reverend Nora Hermina. Welcome, Nora.
Thank you, Diane. And thank you, Elizabeth. And thank you to everybody who has joined us today. It's so nourishing to see your faces, to read your names, to know that you're out there. So when this all started, I got wrapped up in it like most people, right? I got totally sucked in. And I didn't know what to do with myself. And I got wrapped up in the panic, and I felt the panic and the fear sort of overtake me. And that didn't feel good. And it was in about a week or two of feeling out of control, feeling helpless, not knowing how to contribute, not knowing how to help while staying in my house. It was too much. And on April 16th, Diane and One Spirit sent out the daily inspiration, and I printed it out and I put it in a box behind my computer monitor. And when I thought of what it was I was going to talk about tonight, I looked up from my monitor screen, and there it was. And that, I'm going to read it to you, but know that that became my practice, and that anchored me. So from April 16th, 2020, the daily inspiration: quietly go to work on your own self-awareness. If you want to awaken all of humanity, then awaken all of yourself. If you want to eliminate the suffering in the world, then eliminate all that is dark and negative in yourself. Truly, the greatest gift you have to give is that of your own self-transformation. Quietly go to work on your own self-awareness. That was what I needed to hear. That was Lao Tzu. And it's a Brian Brown Walker translation. So that became my practice, right? Deciding that what I was being told was going on out there, not that it didn't matter, but the only way to affect what was going on out there was to anchor within myself. The way to help my students, my family, my friends, my coworkers, my community, the world, was to anchor within myself. So I'm also simultaneously reading Eddie Helson's letters, diaries and letters. And within days of reading what came to my email, I read this. It is the only thing we can do. I see no alternative. Each of us must turn inward and destroy in himself all that he thinks he ought to destroy in others, and remember that every atom of hate we add to this world makes it still more inhospitable. Every atom of hate we add to this world makes it all still more inhospitable. So again, the message was clear that I needed to turn inward. And so my practices became much more contemplative, and I revisited a meditation that I learned last year that was actually incredibly simple and incredibly healing and incredibly soul nourishing. And if you'd like to participate with me, I want to talk you through it. It's very simple. It can be 5 minutes, a couple times a day, 5 minutes every few days, any opportunity to do this. So we start with a breath, because we always start with a breath, right? We start with the breath and we fill our lungs. And we allow ourselves to feel heavy. And we begin by simply remembering, why are we doing this? Why are we coming to our cushion or our seat or just this place of stillness? Why are we doing these practices? We think of it on a really personal level. And then, why are we doing this for the collective? Because here in our own hearts, the collective resides, and there is no social or physical distancing. The breath connects us, our thoughts connect us, our heartbeats connect us. And then from there, believe it or not, it's simply to just be. There is nothing to do. You cannot do it wrong. It's okay if thoughts pass, but don't do anything. Don't do anything with the thoughts. Don't do anything with your breathing. Don't do anything with your limbs. Just be. Allow the outer shell to soften if possible. Just be. Very much like the contemplative mantra of be still and know that I am God. It all comes down to just being. Because by being, we will be grace in the world. We will be a comforting presence to ourselves first and foremost, and to everybody else. We will be adding love and compassion and grace to the vibrations that are surrounding the planet right now. We will be adding peace. And when it feels appropriate, and when you feel settled, even if it's only for a moment, we can bring this practice to a close for tonight and know that this is always available. And any time during the day, whether you set your clock to several hours apart throughout the day, you can turn your back on your devices, you can turn your back on your computer, turn off your phone, and just 5 minutes, settle into your heart where the community resides, where the global community resides, and find that peace. And it's okay if 5 minutes after that, the texts are blowing up and everything's blowing up and you're losing your patience, and then we come back and then we remember. It's really the only way that I know for me to navigate this right now, to not lose my footing, to feel like in some way I'm making a difference, right? My desire is to make a difference and I don't know how. Well, I thought I didn't know how, but I think I do know how. I think if we all do this, as many people on the planet as are able and willing to look inward, to find that peace and love and compassion within, right? Because that's the message. That's the message from all those who have gone through things like this before us, you know, from St. John of the Cross. That was Richard Rohr's newsletter today, just talking about St. John of the Cross and how he turned to prayer and how he just turned within, because nobody can touch that part of us. And circumstances on the outside, it may rattle us, but that place where we can go is the place that's going to anchor us. And every time I receive a reminder, you know, whether it's a poem or a newsletter or something in a book, that reminder that the answer is in here, it's not going to be out there. Out there's a little scary right now. It's a little tenuous, one day to the next. But in here we can create some stability. And the beauty of this practice, the one that I just shared, is that there's absolutely nothing to do, and you cannot do it wrong. And I love anything that you can't do wrong. So thank you. Love to all.
And so again, can we just take a moment or two to let the wisdom that Nora has shared with us really land and take root in our hearts, our minds, our very being. Again, thank you. As I was listening to Nora and talking about that 5 minutes every so often during the day, the phrase sacred pause is what came to mind. And yesterday, of course, was Earth Day and was the 50th anniversary of the very first Earth Day. And if there is any blessing, any pearl in the pandemic, perhaps it is that we are giving the earth a sacred pause by stopping, by reducing consumption, by reducing travel, by reducing the use of fossil fuels. When Elizabeth talked about the vulture and its essential place in keeping balance and health in the ecosystem, it made me think of the very sad reality that right now the vulture is endangered. That in South Africa, where, as many of you know, I have gone many times to take people to experience not only the sacred white lions, but the sacredness of living in harmony with the natural world. The vulture is endangered because humans are poisoning livestock to prevent predator animals from going after their herds. And so in another way, the balance, the natural balance of nature is suffering at our hands. One of my heroes is Jane Goodall, who recently in an interview said that she believes very strongly that COVID is the result of our disrespect for nature. Not in the sense of being a punishment like from a punishing God, but as a natural consequence of our encroaching on habitat and our treating the earth as if she exists simply for our consumption and our entertainment, and not respecting the balance that we are asked to be part of, rather than being arrogant enough to think that we're the center of everything. There is a practice in the Huna tradition of Hawaiian and Polynesian shamanism. It's a practice called Ho'oponopono, and it's a practice of restoring right relationship. Ho'oponopono can be practiced within families. It can be practiced in any relationship in which there has been a disruption and an injury or a harm that's been done that needs to be brought back into right relationship. And the practice is a practice that involves 4 phrases that we work with. The phrases are, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And so I thought tonight it would be very fitting for us to do Ho'oponopono for the earth and pray that we might be restored to right relationship with our mother. So if you are comfortable, please close your eyes. This practice is adapted from Jonathan Hammond's new book, which is called The Shaman's Mind. And I've adapted it with Jonathan's permission. So again, either allow your eyes to gently close or simply soften your gaze and allow your consciousness and attention to turn inward. Feel yourself fully inside the sacred space of your body. Place one hand on your energetic heart at the center of your chest, and the other hand on your lower belly. And just breathe. Feel your hands touching your body. And allow the touch of your hands on your body to help you make deep inward contact with yourself. You may begin to experience a sense of warmth or energy in your hands. And imagine that this warmth or energy is coming from the most loving, nurturing, compassionate presence you can imagine. Call upon the Divine Mother and allow yourself to receive her unconditional love and tenderness, and to feel her fierce protectiveness of everything she loves. Imagine that it is her love that emanates through the touch of your hands on your body. And let your consciousness be filled with this profound and boundless love and protective devotion. Let it infuse your whole being. Open yourself and allow yourself to receive this love. And in this moment, make a clear and conscious choice to let it pour through you into loving, compassionate, protective care for the earth. And breathe. Allowing your hands to remain on your heart and on your lower belly. Begin to imagine that you are holding our precious, beautiful earth tenderly in the center of your being. Let the earth know that you recognize and acknowledge her beauty and her presence and preciousness completely. In the past, you may have forgotten or ignored her, or taken her for granted, maybe too often. You may have mistreated or harmed or injured her, perhaps even at times desecrating her living body. But in this moment, you are remembering, you are paying attention, and you are choosing to accept responsibility for her healing and well-being, for treating her with love and respect. And breathe. Now speak directly to the earth and tell her, I love you. With as much sincerity and earnestness as you can muster, tell her again, I love you. I love you. Say to her, I was asleep, but I am waking up. I am here now, and I love you. And tell her one more time, I love you. Let the energy of your hands, as if your hands were touching the earth herself, convey to her, I love you. Let the earth feel I love you through your hands. And breathe. And now tell the earth, I'm sorry I'm so sorry. I have witnessed you being exploited and ravaged by the arrogance, selfishness, and greed of human beings. We have repaid your great generosity, kindness, and love with indifference, disrespect, and violence. I'm so sorry for the abuse you have suffered at the hands of humanity that you do not deserve. And breathe. And let the energy of your hands convey to the earth, I'm sorry. Let her feel I'm sorry through the touch of your hands. Tell her one more time, I love you. And say to her again, I'm sorry. And breathe. And now ask the earth, please forgive me. Please forgive me for the ways I have not cared for you, for the times I have not respected or given gratitude to you. Forgive me for taking you for granted, for not knowing how or believing I was powerless to protect you from greed and exploitation. For any and all of the ways that until this moment I have failed you, please forgive me. And in your own words, tell the earth exactly how you will make amends to her if she grants you forgiveness. Let the energy of your hands, as if your hands were touching the earth, convey to her, please forgive me. Let her feel, please forgive me through your hands. Tell her again, I love you. And say to her again, I'm sorry. And ask her again, please forgive me. And breathe. And now tell the earth, thank you. Say to her, thank you for supporting my life, for your generous outpouring of blessings. Thank you for providing for my needs, for your sustenance and your beauty and your abundance. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with me through so many teachers, the plant people and tree people and stone people, the waters and the soil, through the four-leggeds, the winged ones, those that swim and those that slither or crawl, through the seasons, the weather, the spirits of the directions, the ancestors. Thank you for your openness to my returning to right relationship with you. Thank you. Let the energy of your hands convey your gratitude as if your hands were touching the earth. Let her feel thank you through your hands. Tell her one more time, I love you. I'm sorry. Ask her again, please forgive me. And say to her again, thank you. And with your hands still touching your own heart and belly, lovingly speak these 4 phrases a few more times, sincerely and tenderly to the earth, to this precious living being who has endured and suffered so much. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And begin to gently become aware of the space around your physical body, especially around and above your head and shoulders. Begin to notice that there is a divine presence surrounding and holding you, an energy, a grace, a healing light. Open yourself to these healing energies and let the earth feel them through you, through your consciousness and your hands. Breathe in light. Receive its radiance and let it pour through you into the earth. And breathe. Feel grace flowing to you and through you to the earth. Allow it to dissolve any feeling of separation or guilt. Let it fill you with strength, clarity, and the resolve to live in right relationship, reciprocity, harmony, love, and respect with the earth. And accept full responsibility to live this way. And now say thank you one last time. And very gently bring your awareness back to this space. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Our closing prayer this evening will be the Ho'oponopono practice set to music. This is by a group called Shushanma. And as we listen, please feel free to sing along, and please feel free to type into into our chat all those that you would like for us to lift in prayer this evening. So many prayers for so many who are suffering. May peace and comfort, healing and strength, encouragement and hope extend from our minds and hearts to all of them, and to all who have no one to remember them tonight by name. Love is the most powerful force in the universe. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your love. We hope you'll be with us again. Let's offer our light to the healing of the world. Carry our prayers to the heavens. Thank you, everyone. Please join us next week if you can. Therese Bimka will be leading us in our gathering next week. If you'd all like to just unmute yourselves and say good night, please feel free to do that.
Good night. Love
Good
community.
night.
Everyone.
Everyone,
Here.
Love to
here.
all of you.
Night.
Blessings on your
And
way.
good night, everyone.
Good night.
Things.
Bye.
I love you.
Wow. Love the earth.
Good night, good night, good night.